Okay, we're live. We're live. Welcome to a special call meeting of the Tullahoma Planning Commission. Call to order. We have a quorum. Everybody's here. Let's start with a Pledge of Allegiance. If I could ask Mr. Comer to lead us in the pledge.
Place flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bill. So our new business tonight is the comprehensive plan, and this is a public hearing. We will look at adopting the Tullahoma comprehensive plan, the Think Tullahoma 2040 plan. Before we jump into that, I have some opening comments as the chairman. Certainly want to thank everybody for coming, for being engaged in this process. This process started 2 years ago with the hiring of a consultant, the Walker Collaborative, to generate this plan. There was a steering committee, there were kickoff meetings, there were surveys that were well participated in. There were 4 community meetings at each elementary school. There was a charrette that was well attended, draft plan review meetings. And there have been many opportunities for the public, the citizen, to engage in this process. And tonight is not that last opportunity to engage in this process. So what do we have here? Well, what do we have? We have a plan. And I'm going to quote former President Dwight Eisenhower. Plans are nothing. Planning is everything. This plan is not city ordinance or law at this point. It's a plan, and it's a good plan. It's got a lot of pros and cons to it, but it's not law yet. That's going to be a process working through this board, through this commission, and through our board of mayor and aldermen. So at the end of this meeting, this commission will vote to forward this plan to the board of mayor and aldermen with a favorable or an unfavorable recommendation, with some possible amendments too. We may have more comments and edits. I don't know. This is an open hearing. We haven't, per sunshine law, we can't meet and talk about it. We're going to talk about it right now before the public. So whose plan is it? Well, this is your plan. This is your plan. And while public input was garnered, the consultant still gave his spin on the plan. So that's why we need to stay engaged with it. Am I held to 2 minutes too?
No, sir.
And that makes sense, right? Because, well, there were lots of ideas presented by the public, but, not all those ideas were great ideas. Some ideas just aren't that good. So, the Walter Collaborative gave us a vision of what they think Tullahoma needs to be with public input, and it's still in a quasi-draft form, if you will. No plan will make everybody happy. And as for public comment, it does not end tonight, so I encourage you to stay involved. There's an implementation plan on page 110 of this document that lays out the schedule. And that's going to include initially modifying our zoning ordinance, which is city law. And that's our first agenda item as a planning commission, to modify that. So again, thanks for coming. And before we move on, are any other commissioners want to make an initial statement? Mr. Mayor? Nothing?
No comments. We have lots of comments have been made and been incorporated, and echo your comments about it. Thanking everyone for being engaged in this plan.
So I want to, before we get started, I want to let everyone know, anyone in the public is free to comment. We'll limit that to 2 minutes per citizen. Please state your name and your address when you come up to the microphone. And I want to make it clear that the only agenda item we have tonight is this comprehensive plan. There's no specific subdivision plans or zoning, rezoning ordinance, anything rezoning happening tonight. It's just this plan. So if you do, if you have questions about certain subdivisions, or wait for one of our regular scheduled meetings. We meet the 3rd Monday of every month, right here, 4:30. So that's the extent of my comments. I guess we'll just jump right in. I mean, it's literally, this is a public comment time. If anybody would like to approach the microphone, please do so. Just please state your name and your address, please.
My name is George Wilson. I live at 408 Albemarle Drive. While every town needs a guiding plan to bring order to growth and expansion, it is more important to have a philosophy about growth, an overarching design that assures the type of growth business, industry, people attracted are in the best interest of the current citizens of that town, whatever town it is. I do not believe the 2040 plan fulfills those needs. The development being called Anderson Farms is a perfect example. This is one of the first and biggest steps in the implementation of an open grid vision for Tullahoma. That is not a vision that anyone here shares. Not only will this development bring a mix of residential and commercial, it will more importantly and more problematically connect Grundy Street to Country Club through Terra. This will make Terra the shortcut from Lincoln and Grundy to all of the businesses on Jackson. So let's look at the proposal for that development. Though it was informal, a specific proposal and even a plat have been submitted but not shared. What has been shared has already been changed since the last public meeting. Changed from traditional neighborhood new to suburban neighborhood low with the option for TNN. So basically the label was changed, but nothing else was changed. In the letter to the Macon Manor HOA, Ms. Samniago laid out the following: 300 detached family homes, 75 detached homes age restricted, 165 townhomes for a total of 537 units. That doesn't include the 20% designated for unspecified commercial development. To fit that many houses into the property will require a density that is at least twice the density of Macon Manor or Terra. The entire 2040 plan, in my opinion, is based on generalized ideas of a hired consulting firm and the philosophy of a city planner. It is quite obviously based on their ideas of what it will take to attract people to move to Tullahoma. I do believe that it has little, if anything, to do with the needs, goals, dreams, or desires of the people who already live in Tullahoma. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Yes, my name is Mark Shemp. I live at 204 East Lauderdale Street. I speak briefly as someone who has participated along the path that we've taken to get to this point, and I agree with the chair. There's some pros and cons on a personal philosophy, but I'm pleased that the city has just put forth and is looking into something that will help us with the vision to move forward in the future, as the many big changes that are about to come are going to come. I mean, we are sitting in the middle. As it's what we want, it's what we're going to get. But I am pleased that it addresses those things, and on a personal level, I've been involved in my 40 years as a Tullahoma resident, involving our urban landscape, our arts and cultural issues, our historic preservation of some of the community, at least the neighborhood sense of the original Tullahoma, the old Tullahoma plan. So I'm pleased to see that we're stepping forward with it, and I hope your support will be there for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Greg Gressel. I live at 316 Oak Park Drive. I'm not uberly prepared for today, and I have had some misadvantage or some disadvantage over the last couple of weeks with personal health to know exactly what all was happening. So I apologize for not being over-prepared, but anyway, I am not strongly in favor of the amphitheater idea that we're looking at for downtown. I believe that the location is poor. I don't see how that would be of any benefit to us as a community. I do think that there are some possibilities of some things that we could do. I just don't feel like that's in the best plan on Jackson Street to try to accomplish such a thing. I do know that we have a very thriving performing arts center just 2 blocks away from where we're speaking of. And I think that we've been a little small-minded on the idea of what is actually downtown and what actually can be downtown. And there are some areas where an amphitheater of sorts would be a great idea and something that we could do, but we don't have to cram everything on 3 streets of Tullahoma in certain corners. And I feel like that is it's not a great design, and I would love to have had some more input on that. I think that the arts community has proven themselves to be a stronghold in the city of Tullahoma, and I don't feel there was any representation on the steering committee for that. And I'm sorry that that took place. Would like to be more involved in that process as we move forward, and also would also say that we have some space that we wouldn't have to purchase buildings and tear things down in order to build things up on the grounds at South Jackson, and we are talking about a covered pavilion that also could be turned into an amphitheater area as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments from our citizens present?
I'll just follow up with that amphitheater comment. I think
Ma'am, can you say your name and address for the record,
sorry,
please?
it's Maureen Burke, and I'm at 107 Breckenridge Road. So I think the amphitheater is probably a good idea, but it could, I think it could be detrimental to the downtown if it becomes a venue that becomes like another 41A thing. I mean, I envision that the downtown could have a center, and it could be portable. So we wouldn't have the maintenance fees and that kind of thing, and it could be more flexible as well and not take up so much space. So I echo the comment about the amphitheater. I think the plan overall it's a little difficult to wade through, and I think that's probably why we don't have more involvement. But it's good and it's comprehensive. The only thing is it's hard to get to the bottom line, and what is it that is the real vision. So I participated in several of the sessions, and especially the one where we had the maps and we laid out kind of ideas and connected up things, and I think those were the really good meetings. So I like the idea of the downtown being connected with greenways. I think it looks like the survey indicated that a lot of people liked the idea of a Tullahoma Plaza or downtown, town center, whatever you want to call it, and we could connect that up with greenways, so that makes it, those two things then interact, and we can combine those desires. But that's kind of what I didn't see in the plan, is what are these things that are going to make it what we would like it to be and will attract people and will also be something that we, the residents, most importantly, can enjoy. I echo someone else's comments that there's not really in the implementation plan. There's a list of things, and there's so relative schedule, year 1, 2, 3, but there's not really identified costs associated with these things and how they might be implemented, even during different administrations over the course of time. And then, I know my time's up, but I have a couple questions about what adoption of this plan really means. I think that's one thing we're a little confused about. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from our citizens? Going once? Going twice? Oh,
really wasn't.
Come on up.
I don't know, I'm just proud. I usually say something with some on mine. Donna Bradford, 404 Randolph Court in Macon Manor. Just going over these numbers and everything, and looking at the proposed 537 units, that brings me, considerable questioning about what we're going to do about our roadways. Country Club is, consideration, but it's going to have to be widened, and how, what that looks like, and also our school systems and how that, load will be able, we'll be able to take that load on our school systems. That's a big concern. I don't have children in school here, but, but, we do support school systems, so, and the tax dollars that, that we're going to have for that. And so that's a big concern for me, is to see what we're going to do about that. So.
And thank you for your comments. Any other comments from our citizens present?
Hello, Ken Flager, live over at 308 Terra Boulevard. And I guess I'd just like to reiterate, make sure you hear from enough of us, that there are a great number of concerns about the urban development behind the area there, especially around the volume of traffic that would cause. If just a simple look at the map shows that the shortest distance to the North Jackson shopping area, where all the primary shopping is conducted in town, or at least a great deal of it, a pretty high percentage, is going to be straight through Terra. So most people, they'll take this path of least resistance. And that neighborhood in particular is an older neighborhood. There are no sidewalks, so people walk in the street. The children play in the streets, and that traffic will go through there higher rates of speed. That's just common. What will happen when the volume increases, 10 to 100-fold, depending on how you want to look at the stats on vehicles for the neighborhood going in. So maybe there's considerations for sidewalks and things like that to widen, but all that widening and infrastructure, I didn't see reference to that in the plan in that specific area. There may be plans there that I didn't read, but I tried to go through as much of that as I could. And also from drainage to, there's a myriad of issues with when that development goes in, what that's going to cause, because the street right now basically turns into a river when it rains heavy. Where that flows is in the direction of that development going in now, so what's that going to look like when it's done? Those just a lot of concerns for the folks that live in that neighborhood, especially on that main thoroughfare that looks like it may go straight into the new neighborhood if it opens an access in that area. So there's just a great concern with that and the quantity of homes going in, and another reference to the compatibility between neighborhoods. It seems like there's a significant shift in the type of homes that'll be in that area versus those areas much more densely packed, which obviously contributes to the greater traffic flow. But I just wanted to make sure that we made comments that there's plenty of us out there that are very concerned with what that will look like down past there.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, Mary.
Can I say something?
Oh, of course.
I just want to make sure that it's clear. I appreciate everybody. Mary Samadiego, Planning Director. I'm happy everybody's coming out to the comprehensive plan meeting, but I want to make sure that it's clear that this plan isn't adopting any development on the Anderson Farm next to Terra Estates in Macon Manor. That property was purchased by a property owner from upstate New York. He delivered me a draft of what they were thinking of developing. I took it around to staff to see what types of studies and what information they would need to make sure that that project met all of the codes. So he met, and again, this is just public information, so you know kind of what's happening. I think there's a lot of hearsay kind of going around. That developer came and talked to staff. Staff told them they need a traffic study, they need a school concurrency analysis, they need a drainage study, they need a tree inventory. We gave them about 20 different items that they had to submit and come back to us before they haven't even filed an application with us. We don't have a formal plat. We don't have anything on the docket for that project. They could come back a month from now, they could come back 3 years from now. So we don't have a plan that we're actively reviewing. The original layout, staff had quite a few concerns with that layout, and we told them to go back to the drawing board. So I don't want residents to get overly concerned about kind of a back of the envelope, as it were, drawing that a potential developer showed us months ago. When they do actually file a petition with the proposed layout, all adjoining property owners will be noticed, and signs will go out on the property, and we'll have a full public hearing on that project.
Thank you, Mary.
I'd like to make a comment, and I'm going to hide my sign to city attorney and make a comment as a citizen of this town. I just have 2 or 3 observations. I want to thank you all very much for the diligence that you have pursued in this matter. It's very important to us that we do have this plan. It's also important that we implement it, that we move forward with it. I gave Mr. Brooks a 1967 plan that was developed by the Tullahoma Planning Commission that year. It's kind of amazing how little of that ever was implemented. So this time, with a lot more money spent on it, a lot more time devoted to it, we have an opportunity to really move Tullahoma forward. I just have a couple of comments about the plan that I'd like for you all to all just think about. One of them is, if it's still in there, a proposal to abandon the Tullahoma High School and build a new high school. Without a doubt, that's probably one of the most fiscally irresponsible kinds of things that I have ever heard. We have a beautiful facility out there. It's been well maintained. It may need some upgrading. It may need some modernizing, but I don't think we should ever consider, with my lifetime and maybe all of yours, abandoning that facility and all the grounds that are around it and the $5 million stadium that we have right there and all those things and the $200,000 tennis courts that we're going to refurbish this year. Let's keep it there. Let's remodel it. Let's upgrade it, but let's keep it there. And the other is, in conjunction with some of the other comments about a downtown amphitheater, first of all, in order to put the downtown amphitheater there, we're going to have to acquire Traders National Bank. And I talked to an official at Traders National Bank, and they ain't ready to sell that bank yet. So I don't think the city is going to entertain eminent domain to acquire Traders National Bank to build a downtown amphitheater. Let's think about the fiscal aspects of this plan just as well as all of the very beautiful and very altruistic methods whereby it was arrived at, because planners many times don't think about the financial aspect of the plan that they're developing. We ought to think about that, be fiscally responsible about it. But let's move forward. This is great for Tullahoma. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Terry Flager, 308 Terra Boulevard. I'm just a little confused by what you were saying. If we adopt a plan, the plan does have, on page 55, there are 52, it does have in orange urban, that's part of the plan. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. It is part of the plan, and I don't think that should be in the plan. If you're going to say yes to the plan, that should be removed. It shouldn't be urban. Nothing around there is, and we can't. I don't think it's even, I mean, we would have 1,000 cars going down one street. It doesn't even make sense to me. I can see a subdivision going in, that's fine, but not the urban. So I don't think that plan, that should be modified or adapted before you either say yes or no to it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from our citizens present?
Hi, I'm Beverly Lee. I live at 114 Fairways Boulevard. I actually was on the steering committee for this, and we spent many, many hours going through all this, and I think that all of the people that were there had a great amount of expertise and things to talk about what was going on and look at the future. And I'm going to piggyback on what our city attorney says. Going forward, we need to move forward. And the part of the plan that I am most invested in is the Arnold Heritage and Innovation Center that is looked at to be at part of Wagner Park. I know that the city looks at the relationship with Arnold Air Force Base very positively. We want to keep that going. It's right adjacent to Arnold Land. Arnold Air Force Base just created an innovation center there where they're actually innovating and doing all kinds of new things. It's time for our city to create an entrepreneurial center, something that's going to help our remote workers, our folks that are coming in and coming up with new ideas and stuff. So I think that that is a great plan, as long as we get it funded with federal funds, which is what I think is the intent of that whole facility. So as we move forward and we give our residents newer facilities so that our engineers and scientists, as well as anyone who wants to start a business, assistance, I think is very important, and to actually combine our services and stuff with those of Launch Tennessee and become a true entrepreneurial and innovation center. And I just want to thank you for being a part of it. I know I spent personally 30 or 40 hours. I did not represent every single person in this room, but I did look at it from a very overarching viewpoint from a resident in Tennessee, and I didn't think that it had too much growth, although certain areas may differ with me, but we spent many hours compromising on how much growth we would accept. So I appreciate the opportunity to be on it, and I fully support the plan. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from our citizens? Going once, going twice. Okay, I'll close the public comment period. Last chance. Okay, I'll close it. Okay. Mary, what's the next step in our process? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, if I can just say a couple words,
Please.
if I may. First of all, I'll hand this to Mr. Comer. I have a recommendation of approval from the TAEDC. I'll pass around. They are formally recommending approval of the plan. I just want to reiterate some of the things that Mr. Sandlin said. This is a very important document. Again, it's a guiding document. One of the residents asked, what relationship does this have to the other codes? Where does this document come under consideration for future growth? Anytime that there is a rezoning of property, a subdivision of property, this plan will be consulted. It's not. It's required to be consulted. However, given the situation of specific sites, it's not the law. It's a guiding document. So if there's a peculiar situation with a certain subdivision, let's say, and the plan says all new subdivisions should have sidewalks on one side, but there's a peculiarity with a given subdivision, it's going down a ravine, then within the zoning code, you can certainly grant waivers to that. So again, it's a guiding document. It's not the ordinance for development. A large part of this plan will also guide development and initiatives that the city itself will be doing as far as city infrastructure, city projects, grants that we'll try to go after, and funding sources we'll try to go after for improving sidewalks, greenways, infrastructure, stormwater, et cetera, et cetera. That's a large bulk of the plan. I do personally want to thank all the residents of Tullahoma. Basically, a month after I started the senior planner position, we started this process, so it's been about a year and a half, and we had tremendous amount of public input. I was really actually pretty surprised the amount of people that came out to all the meetings. Again, there's 20,000 residents that live in Tullahoma. 1,200 people did the online survey alone, and that's a huge percentage of the population. So I'm really happy to see all the public engagement throughout this process. And I also want to thank Winston Brooks. He worked with me side by side for endless hours, orchestrating all the public comments, getting the contract together with the consultants. So yeah, I couldn't have done it without him, so I thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And Mary, you've been promoted to a role that will be truly implementation of this plan, and we'll be bringing in another city planner to work with us on the day-to-day stuff. So Mary is going to be intimately engaged in implementing it, and everything's coming through this planning commission. Mm-hmm. This is a plan. The first step is the true city ordinance to modify our zoning ordinance and zoning map. Any other comments at present from our commission? Anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I think maybe touch on the amphitheater seems to be kind of a big stop and correct me if I'm wrong, is that was just kind of a conceptual design that somebody had in here. Nobody's recommending that the city buy Traders Bank and build an amphitheater there. That is just an idea that somebody had, and so I don't believe that there's any, I know that I probably wouldn't support that, but there are a lot of things in here that are just drawings and just concepts, and one of the reasons you don't see pricing and things in here is because those are things that this board will talk about. We'll have committees and I believe an implementation committee who will then take this and talk about the viability of these different pieces and then start going through the process to look at what's it going to cost, where can we get money to do this, what, in some of these, I think one of the first steps to getting some of the funding for some of these projects is to have this plan in place. So as you kind of look through here, I think that don't take their artist renditions of what things could be. Nothing in here is ordinance, nothing in here is law, nothing in here is mandate. That will all have to be the zoning. I know we see somebody had talked about the urban area back there. This plan doesn't change what that currently is. That will still remain agriculture even after, if this board approves this, and if BOMA approves it a couple meetings later, that will still remain agriculture. There will still have to be community conversations, and there will still have to be those different ideas. But I am with you because it is important. It becomes a guiding document, and so it does become something that as we go through and we look at making different decisions, that we'll go back to and look at the plan and say, okay, it fits in with the, mostly it's the zoning ordinances that will be kind of built off of this. The other things are just different activities that the city might do. But that was kind of, because I have heard a lot about the amphitheater, and so I think that that's one to touch on. That's not something that I believe the city is interested in doing, and it's just an idea that was kind of tossed out there and put into a picture not by us. Is that wrong?
No, it's basically correct. What it was is during a lot of the public comment sessions and the survey and the charrettes and the school meetings, quite a few residents voiced a recommendation for a downtown gathering space. So the amphitheater idea came from that public comment, that public input. There was a lot of discussion with the consultants about the South Jackson Community Center, Civic Center, saying we already have a large gathering space that's at the edge of downtown. But again, based on public input that they did receive, there was an idea for an additional kind of a different place directly downtown that could be used for public events, that kind of thing, where it would be directly on the downtown square area to promote shopping and visiting those businesses right there, as opposed to a couple blocks away where the South Jackson Civic Center is. And again, this is a proposed location. The same idea of a downtown gathering space could be a block away. We could move that idea of a downtown gathering space to South Jackson. Again, it's the idea of a downtown gathering space. And this site was something that Traders Bank said at some point they'd be interested in potentially selling it to a private investor. This could be done through private investment or to the city. So that's basically where this came from.
Yeah, we're kind of having a dialogue. I guess we need a motion to, and then discussion after that. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the Think Tullahoma 2040 comprehensive plan as redlined.
Second. And second it. And discussion. Any further discussion on the comprehensive plan? And There's been comments made about the effort that the steering committee put into it, a lot of hours, and the planning commission has put a lot of time in this. We had 2 back-to-back evenings where we dug in and had a lot of edits. So a lot of people have put a lot of time, unpaid time, just because we're committed to making Tullahoma a better place for all of us. Well, I have a motion and a second. Call for a vote to approve the comprehensive plan as presented with current red lines. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay, passes unanimously. I want to thank everybody for their time to come tonight and additional comments. And I guess in closing, we meet in this room every third Monday, 4:30, with a regular agenda that's public on usually Wednesday or Thursday before that Monday. And we are your planning commission. We're your neighbors. Go to church together. We work together in some cases. Probably run into you in Walmart or Publix sometime in the next week or two. Just feel free to reach out to us. We're pretty easy to find. If you didn't want to make your comments public, this is a living document, and we're going to continue to try to make it better and implement it properly. I guess that's all I've got. Oh, yes, Mary.
Also, that goes the same for me. Anybody and everyone, feel free to contact me at my office if you have any questions, concerns. I'll spend any amount of time explaining the plan to anyone, how it affects their property, how it affects the city. So feel free to reach out to me.
Very good.